What's going on YouTube? I've got some exciting stuff to unbox today. I've been sitting on these for a few months and I figured, well, now is a better time than ever to reveal these to you. So if you've been following along, you'll see that I've started doing some stuff to my Andy Miata. However, this is what I'd like to say the piece de résistance, or as many of you like to refer to as Swedish Gold. That's right, if you can tell by now, I'm referring to Ohlins Coilovers. This kit here is the MAS MP-S001 kit. Now it's important to note that there are two different variants of this kit, and if I'm not mistaken, Öhlins has actually revised this kit over the years, as they typically do with many of their other kits, as I can recall from my days with my BRZ and my FRS. So let's get right to it. So we'll start with the small box. Now the small box is going to contain a few items here, namely your stock upper mounts. So this actually fits into the stock shock hardware, or the OEM hardware for your upper shock mounts. So we've got both the front and rear in here. And they've also included these nice little rubber insulators that just help insulate the noise from the spring to the top mount. In addition to that, these are little extras that I have here. These did not come in the kit, so I just want to emphasize that. These are actually the optional mounts that you can purchase from Sakebomb or MiataSpeed. So I purchased these because I wanted to use these as opposed to using the stock upper mounts, and we'll get to why these are important in just a second. Outside of that, we've also got our springs. Now it's important to note that in the S1 kit, and again there are two kits, S1 and S2, in the S1 kit, that comes with a 7K spring in the front and a 4K spring in the rear. There is an optional S2 kit, and that comes with the 10K spring front, and I believe you still have a 4K spring rear. This is considered their track day kit. Let's get into the second box. Öhlins packaging is probably one of the best out there, and again, it should be for the cost of this kit. So in the second box, or the larger of the two, we have here our shock bodies. So this is what looks like is the rear. So we're just gonna unpack that here. All right, so that's our rear shock body there. And then we've got our owner's manual and some hardware here. And we've got some stickers, and we've got some dust shields or bellows that you can use. And for what it's worth, we're just gonna go down to the lower part of the box here, and we're gonna grab a front shock body for comparison. So this is a front. First and foremost, these kits are aluminum, or I should say the shock bodies rather are aluminum. And what gives this a kind of distinct advantage, aluminum shock bodies are not only resistant to corrosion, like salt for instance, if you live in a climate where there tends to be a lot of salt usage on the roads, but they're also lighter than a conventional steel body, or in some cases like with KW, they use a stainless steel body. Now, aluminum is obviously going to not only protect it from the corrosion and not only a little bit lighter, but it's also better for heat dissipation. Yes, there's friction that happens within the shock bodies themselves. As this piston moves in and out, it is going to create friction, and dissipating the heat will help keep the fluid within these shock bodies operating within their thermal range. So outside of the stickers, again, we have another controversial item here, but this bag of hardware contains something that I want to point out, because I fell victim to this. I went out and purchased extended adjusters because I purchased this from a local retailer here. Shout out to Johnston Research and Performance. And when I purchased this from them, unknowingly, we had gone ahead and we had ordered these extenders, because in the ND platform, you have the carpeting in the back or the trimming. Rear adjusters are not very accessible in the stock form if you want to utilize all of the factory trimming and the factory carpeting in the trunk. So I went ahead and I ordered adjusters, or extenders rather, to only find out that, believe it or not, within the kit, you actually get the extenders and you get the little adjustment knobs that go with it. Now, there are some retailers out there that will say, order from us and you'll receive this as an exclusive item, but don't be fooled by that again. Don't fall into that marketing nonsense. As you can see from my factory off-the-shelf Öhlins kit here, the extenders are included, or at least included in my particular SKU number. So again, worth noting, don't go out and spend the extra money like I did. Don't order them online for an atrocious amount of money, because they are coming in the kits now. Now, I can't speak on behalf of older kits, but I can tell you on my kit that I have purchased in the year 2023. Okay, so moving on to the front. You know, they're pretty straightforward. They look very similar between front and rear, and how I know this is the front is because we actually have the adjustment knob on the front here, whereas in the rear has got the adapter so that it's ready to be fitted with the cable. Now, for all intents and purposes, we are going to measure the travel within the shock body. So this is a very controversial thing because there are many options that are out there with different retailers. However, for what it's worth, we're going to measure the stroke in the front. And according to my measurement here, and understand that your stroke is not measured from the very bottom of your bump stop. It's actually measured from the end point of travel. So if you were to remove the bump stops and you were to go based on this collar here, which is where the very limit would be, in this particular case on the front, I am measuring 102 millimeters, okay? So we have 102 millimeters from the factory with the factory Öhlins, okay? So again, this is an off-the-shelf kit, not a long stroke kit or anything of that nature. Great construction. We have here dual adjustment, so you have your preload adjustment here for the spring, and then you have your height adjustment down here. By loosening this collar, you can adjust the base of this, which will allow you to shorten or lengthen the overall height of that. All right, now we're moving on to the rear. Similar as the front, we have a dual adjustment here. You can adjust the rear collar, allowing for overall adjustment of the length, and then of course your spring preload adjustment as well. On the rear here, again, we've got this neat little attachment that allows you to put the extender cable into, so that you can adjust it from inside the trunk and not have to remove all your carpet trimming. Nice positive clicks when rotating, Again, quality product here, guys. Öhlins makes a good product. So this is why I selected it. There was a lot of options out in the market when I was looking to purchase. Obviously there's your tried and true. Öhlins is obviously one of them. I've used Öhlins before in the past on other applications. In my opinion, unless you plan on spending, in my neck of the woods, $5,000+ Canadian, for you guys down in the US, $3,500+ on an MCS kit, and then upwards of JRZ, where you're getting into $5,000 to $7,000 US, and here in Canada, $7,000 to $10,000 Canadian. A single adjustable system that provides the versatility both for track and for road use, you really can't beat the Öhlins. They use a dual valve, flow valve technology, which in essence gives you kind of a Jekyll and Hyde scenario where you have moderate undulations or bumps in the road. The dampening allows for very smooth transition. And then when you have a very abrupt, or a high speed movement or motion in the shock, that dual valve will react faster. So What that does is it doesn't give you the harshness on the street, but in a high-speed scenario where there's high suspension motion movement, that valve operates differently. So you get, again, kind of best of both worlds. Moving on to the rear, we are going to measure the rear motion or travel. And in this case here, we have 111 millimeter. All right. So the rear, 111 millimeter, and the front, again, guys, 102 millimeter. Okay. Again, this comes to another controversial point. Measuring this, we've got 111. Yeah, you got 111 millimeters of travel. So from everything that I was reading online, according to some threads that I had seen in some of the forums, maybe something has changed with Öhlins, but everything that I had read online, I suppose, was saying that the standard off-the-shelf Öhlins kit was using and I believe 90 to 92 millimeter stroke, where this kit, or from what I was seeing, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe the OEM, Bilstein, and some other aftermarket options out there are going, like for instance, the Flying Miata Fox coilovers offer, I believe it's about 170 millimeter stroke. So in comparison, if we were to show what that looks like, as you can see here, this is about 170 millimeters from the base of the shock body. That would show you that, you know, you're gaining nearly 2 inches of stroke from factory, or the Flying Miata Fox option, to this. All right, now moving to the top mounts. So these come standard as a part of their kits if you get their long stroke, you know, fully jammed motorsports kit. I purchased these because I wanted the option to be able to remove these and move them in and out of my vehicle without actually having to remove the upper spring perch and all that other good stuff for the shock mount. And if I wanted to switch between suspension settings, like if I wanted to throw the stock ones back in for whatever reason, whether it be to rebuild these or whatever the case may be, I could do easily. The other reason why I purchased these, other than the fact that they're gold and they look great and they match the Öhlins, is that they are a spherical kit. So the first advantage to that is what we call the lateral or radial movement that happens naturally in the suspension. So as your suspension moves up and down with its motion, there is a radial load that is being put on the side of the shock piston itself. So as you can imagine, when these are mounted in the car as such, and this is moving up and down, and your piston is moving in and out of the body, there is a radial movement, or there is a radial load that is being applied to this. As you can imagine, not everything is always 100% perpendicular, and when it is moving upwards and downwards, it is going to, ever so slightly change in its pitch. And when you're using the stock OEM rubber bushings, that doesn't allow for a lot of radial movement where whereas a spherical bearing does. So that was part of the reason why I went with this. This prevents a lot of unnecessary load and wear to the seals and the piston seals within this assembly, essentially giving you a little more life. And who doesn't want that, especially when you spend the money that you do. The other reason I went with this is because it's a spherical bearing, okay? There is no up and down movement, okay? There is no vertical movement within the captured nut and washer of the shock body, okay? Whereas in the factory setup, uses a rubber bushing on top and bottom with a metal sleeve in between. But those rubber bushings act as an isolator. So they isolate both the noise and vibration from getting into the cabin, but what they also do too is an abrupt, sudden shock movements or motion movements within the shock itself. They insulate that to a degree because they're rubber, right? They offer a little bit of cushion. Again, going back to the fact that this is a dual flow valve unit or shock, the way that valve responds and how it operates internally is that it operates based on the speed of the motion that's happening within the body itself. So the speed of the piston moving in and out, that is going to determine the valving or that internal valve that differentiates, the high speed and low speed sort of thing. There's a theory, or there's an understanding, that by using the OEM mount, that OEM rubber bushing might isolate enough movement in a fast moving scenario where it may not allow the valve internally to operate as efficiently as it could. I hope that makes sense. In essence, by having that rubber isolation, that rubber may dampen the movement and the motion of the piston a little bit, thus not allowing the valve to react the way that it should if it were in a more firm or fixed setting. On a street, you're probably never going to notice the difference. If this is a street-driven application, maybe you hit up the occasional autocross or something, do a little spirited driving, you're probably never going to even notice the difference. Track setting or, more of a dedicated autocross setting, this is probably where you're going to want your suspension and the valving internally to react as quickly as possible. Anyways, that is my thought on it, and again, from what I understand, but up for debate. I don't know. Will I even notice a difference? Probably not. At the end of the day, I didn't buy these exclusively for that reason and that reason alone. There were several reasons as to why I purchased these. So for me, it made sense and I justified it. And Sakebomb has done a great job here. These are, machined billet pieces that are pretty solid, anodized, really nice anodized coating. And, you've got some Teflon lined spherical bearings in here, which is amazing. So, service life should be pretty good on them. Again, my car doesn't see any road salt or any grime, anything of that nature. So it's unlikely that these are going to corrode anytime soon. But understand that you're going to get a little less lifetime out of this than you would maybe the rubber stock mounts. I don't drive this car every day and I don't use it all year round, so I'm not really that worried about it. All right, so that concludes that, guys. So here we have it, our Öhlins coilover kit. Again, the standard off-the-shelf kit. I hope you found this video somewhat informative. This is what's included in the kit. Fantastic kit, less this, of course. That's purchased optional extra. You get some great stickers, as always. You get the hardware, and of course you get these adjusters, which come in the kit with the adjustment knobs as well. In the front, you just adjust with the gold knob here, which is fantastic, And then in the rears, the cable goes in through this guy right here. It's got a little Allen screw that you tighten down on the cable itself. And then it comes with these little knobs that you will fish through, a piece, probably the carpeting at the rear of the vehicle. And then that way you can just adjust it from the knob. Seems like it should work pretty good. But yeah, so that's that. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and found it informative. Please like and comment. It definitely helps out the algorithm. I want to just thank everybody that's been watching my videos up till now. There has been some growth on the channel, which I'm super grateful for, because I basically do this as a hobby. I definitely don't make any money on this, but I enjoy doing this stuff and I enjoy sharing information as I come across it. There are more things to come. This is just step one of all the cool stuff that I've purchased for the suspension, specifically on my Miata. In the next video, we'll be going over some of the other items that I've picked up. Again, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.